Hello everyone, my name is BandOBX and today we're going to go over making a horror game. So there's a lot of really important factors from level design, from like the paths you take, how the game flows all together, the lighting, especially sound design in horror games. It all is just paramount to making a grand experience. If you have a horror game that has bad sound, it becomes more goofy and loses that edge. But tweaking some sounds from being what they would normally sound like to being slightly twisted, like for example, if you look at this is more for sound, but if you take the scene from Up, where they're going through the two older people growing up and then getting old together. It plays the song that's going through and then it slows it down. And that changes the whole feel of it and it slightly changes the tune, but it keeps the same rhythm. And it takes this song and goes really, really sad with it. The same can work with horror games as well, like Dead Space's intro in the original game for the little trailer when it plays Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how it makes it more like it's going through a room and echoing and sounding like it's off in the distance coming from like a radio. These are all things that are put together to really change the feel of the situation. And then you've got those sudden, intense changes for it when it gets to the parts with the gameplay that goes on when Isaac gets slammed down and he gets really bloody. Those situations really, and those slight changes, that audio can make such a big difference in your horror games. So what I've done is I've loaded up Half-Life 2 and we're going to go through Welcome to Ravenholm, because this level is a heavily popular horror level in video game history. And I thought it would be fun to play through it and talk about it real quick. And then we're going to go into Unreal and look at some of the tricks that they really used for their game. Alright, so if you notice, we start in this room. There's a little area back here that looks like you can go through, but you really can't. It's just to really give you areas to look around, and nothing's exactly happening back here, but you can hear the music playing. And it's a lot of these like almost moving left to right noises. And the pitches that they're using are just off enough to really make it feel eerie, but it's fast enough to be intense, so it lets you know that this is horror, but it's action, so it's more of a thriller. But then when I go back here, I can't do anything back here. In fact, I think I can actually see... No, it's wood. Okay. But when I go back here, it gives me stuff to look around, but nothing's important back here. But when I go forward, this is when it introduces me to the mood and feel. The crows flying, the body over there hanging off the little tree, and this blue light. If you notice, there's a color theme going on here. We have blue, yellow, and pale white. And this is a theme that we will likely see throughout the entire level, as a lot of these levels will introduce a little, almost a LUT system, LUT, where they'll set up a set color code that they're going to go by and really focus on having that. And when we first step through, if you're paying attention, you can actually see Ravenholm. So it really is telling you where you are, and it puts this image right here. Like, if you look right here, this would make a really great screenshot for a level if we didn't have the UI going on. Is there a way I could turn off the UI? Because if I can, that would be amazing. Oh, shit. Ah, dang. Well, advanced? Can I turn it off? Dang. Anyway, we'll walk through and see what we can find out from the level. So as we go through, the birds fly by and now they leave the scene. Before they were flying around here, and it kind of sets the mood of you're disturbing this place that hasn't been visited in a while. The body is hanging. It's not hanging directly underneath the light, but if you're going down the path that they've set up for you, the light emphasizes it directly. And it really helps set the tone for this eerie level. If I go to my crowbar, I can break this. And then we're introduced to our first building, as well as that light, if you're paying attention, guides us directly over to that building right there. And listen to this, the character. So, the thing about head crabs is they're not just terrifying because they're dangerous, they're terrifying because the host inside, by the lore, the creature has dug its claws into the character and the character is still alive while that thing is controlling their body. So that's why you hear the screaming inside of it. So they're sitting there panicking inside while that creature is controlling their body. And then with this, you'll see there's things hung up. There's buzz saws. And all this is to set up this terrifying mood. There's a body hanging off this buzz saw right here that's really plastered. I think the legs were sitting underneath it until we blew it up. And it really sets up a mood of what they're going for. But it also is used to control your mechanics. So I can now use this to fire it. So not only have they introduced more to the level, made it creepier, they've introduced mechanics that work with the prior parts that all fit the horror theme they're going for. And then if I hit F, you'll notice my flashlight is like a white pail. We have more yellow going on here. Everything is fit what we were talking about a moment ago. And right here, you can see the character is just disfigured in just this creepy way. Back then, this was unsettling. As well as, you'll notice the longer I sit in here, the more of these seem to wake up. So they've given reason to keep traveling forward. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so we don't stick around here too long. As we go through, we get more of these lights. It emphasizes to shoot right there to take care of those guys. But they also kind of punish you for it too, as they have barrels lined up to hit you. So it makes you think, and then it makes you panic when you use the suggested move. But they also made it your move that caused that. So it didn't take away my ability to make a decision, but it gave me one that also has consequences. So it further makes you worry about the rest of the level. Yeah, come around here, more birds fly away, more dead bodies, the little thing where the head crabs come out of. I believe... Oh wait, no, I just crouch underneath it, that's right. It's been a while since I played Half-Life. You'll see as we were coming through, we had enough time to see the creatures that were coming out, and they were walking real slow. So if a person's not accurate or doesn't know how to react, they still have time to think and plan their next action. We push this down, we get introduced to a little head crab.
And my bones are parched like ash, and let all my impurities be as fuel for that fire until nothing remains but the light alone.
Yeah, you'll notice that they have this little torture table going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in this level to tell a story of what's going on. As this is a city that was fine, and then I believe it was the government decided to fire off these head crab canisters, and it just destroyed the whole city. Ouch. And then come in here, and it's introducing us to our first little actual challenge of the level. Everything else has been kind of simple so far. Oh dear. And then the fact that you could blow out their lower half and they'll crawl towards you, all of that ties in together to give this just unique experience, especially for back in the day. And then now we see that we're introduced to a character. And you'll see that this fire is lighting up these creatures, setting the scene, letting him talk.
My eye on you. More than that, I cannot promise.
And then they have the light going off behind him that really emphasizes him. You'll notice that it's not really used in the other areas. Like it is a little right there. But right here, it's really emphasized, and it keeps to that color scheme while giving us this visual, beautiful scene right here. That's showing you that even though the place is in shambles and horror, they're thriving in this hellscape. But they've given me the ability to sprint around, as well as they got things like this that I can activate. Oh, I need that. Excuse me. But yeah, the level's guiding me now that it has fire, and it's showing me that I can activate these to do stuff. But with everything that is red being activatable, as you've noticed, as both these were both red, it gives me the ability to tell, okay, so I need to do these. So now that this is sparking, it's telling me, don't climb that. Oh, the building, the door got knocked over, so it did that in order to tell me there's another path I can go through. So if you can't figure out what's going on up here, if you hadn't noticed that they actually have the zombie down here in order to teach you how that mechanic works. You hit this little button and it activates the gas. It activates the spark, and then this activates the gas, and you can turn off the gas by pressing this right here. So when you get up to the little thing up here, the zombie has already informed you that this is going on if you've gone in here. So you go up here and you solve this real quick. And then with all the other parts, it gets you over to the electrics, and then you come over here, and when you run into this thing, you've learned from everything else that you could turn off the gas and stop the fire. So it's taught you everything you need to know in order to solve the puzzle. So what this level has done is it's done everything from guide you with its mechanics to teaching you how to solve the puzzles right next to the puzzles. So it's gone through these rather elaborate things in order to get you forward. We come up here, get up here. Ooh. Press this on down. Whoops. That's kind of funny. You'll see that it still has that same color scheme as it's been having. I need ammo pretty bad. Same blue, but as you notice, the further on we get, the more hope we seem to get. The more it turns to that yellow being the focus instead of the blue. But it also is to tell you that we're indoors. What they've done is they've seeded that not everything's going to get up by making some of them stand, but not all of them. Oh shit, there's the poison ones. That's the other thing, is they made a clear difference in the enemies by these ones. When it hits you, I'll let it hit me for once. And boom, it knocks me to 1 HP because it gives me a poison. That gives you something, that gives the player something really specific that only that enemy does to worry about. So whenever they see that, they will now have a fear of that enemy or a desired response. This one being a worried reaction whenever they see it. So now every time I see it, I have to pay attention. As well as when I get around, you'll notice that they have this looped around to make it easier to when I turn this off, they can get back down real fast. And then we can come out here. Well. One thing I'm noticing is that you... Oh! Let's head over and check out this vent. That's another thing Half-Life does pretty cool, is they have a lot of little secret passages. So if we go over here, we can go up here, we can break this little vent and go inside. And this plays with the claustrophobia a lot of people have. But it also is a faster way out. And there's gear right here. So one thing that they also have in Half-Life is these little symbols right here are always a symbol to gear. Oop, I just wasted my one grenade. Yeah, now that I've gone up there, gone through all that, I can come over here and I can go right up this ladder. I've gone through everything, and now using that same level without going too wild, they made it to where you come up here, and where is it at? I need to go up more. That's right. I jump across.
Well done, brother. Make free use of my traps, but take care not to fall in them yourself. Behind you! In
Oh, there.
Ravenholm, you do well to be vigilant.
So yeah, once again, they coated him in that Carapascular ray, or God ray. It may be obviously fake, not actually connected to a light, but it sells that he's this important figure. It put a light behind him and really gave him that silhouette feel to kind of make him the cinematic focus at the time. Now we go over here, and we're in that same area as before, and all these lit up paths that we were able to see, we now can access. So it was really setting us up for the future early on. And that's what we talked about before in our foreshadow leveling. I leveled this up. But yeah, as you heard, the character that had the head crab on them was reacting, and then the head crab made the death noise. So that audio can really make people feel uncomfortable, and it's important to think about how that works. You come over here, and he told us about traps. Now we see that we have access to these traps that we can use. So now we're going to go over here, and it gives us 3 enemies to use it on. Oh, 4 enemies to use it on. And we activate it, and we epically fail at using it. Come over here, it gives us the ability to open this door and this path, and we come back. Let's try it again. Boom. Should go up, and we should have time to activate it again right away. And this allows us to really play with the smash and just let loose and have a bit of fun with the game. Instead of always being intense, it's giving us this little relaxing break to just smash things with the car. Now that we're done with that, we can go over here and right there. It's telling us that there's ammo nearby, likely behind right here. But we're not going to worry about the ammo. We're going to come over here. And... that's right. So this one's specific. We need to drop the car and go up. So it taught us the mechanic of it over there, and now it's giving us a puzzle that's using that same mechanic. So it's giving us introductions to all these different things we can do, while also constantly giving us new ways to use them. So I'm going to jump over here, because as you can see, this little signal's right here as well. Now we can go on down here and get some new ammo. Boom. Half-Life has that, and every single time you see that symbol, it happens. And then they always have a way out. So let's go ahead and use our little lever and go back up. So that's the unique thing. And then they've also got him and the light telling you where to go. Oh, that was a glitch. Can't expect the old games to be perfect, though. Alright, so now we get over here.
I am Father Grigori. You have already met my congregation.
So that's another thing. They used a lot of good negative space here. So they put him right here, but they made sure that the moon is right here, and the clouds are right there. So that way the sky doesn't seem empty. So there's 2 lights, so it also doesn't feel unbalanced, and it still puts that eerie, like, supernatural glow about him to really make him feel different than everybody else. We go up here, and this should be the end of the level. Right. Alright, so that's enough of looking at the Half-Life 2 level. So, because I could go further, and of course we'll see a lot of the things we just talked about. We'll probably see the same colors, if not a slight switch for this one. but it'll still have a set of 3 colors as the focus.
Rest, my child.
And once again,
Ah, it is you, brother. I apologize. But no harm done. My bullets are the least of your concerns.
so that's a big thing that I've talked about in many different videos. So the important thing is they got a lot to explore right here. They even had a creature to kill, and that let them let out a little bit of their built up energy. So they come through here, they open the door, and the creature instantly gets killed in the dead center of their screen. Dead. And what that does is it lines our eyes up directly with the character as well. So that way it introduces this moment where we can't miss the situation that's going on. I have a level that I have that shows this off, and I've talked about it a few times. It's important to look at these things outside of just, okay, we're in a horror game, let's enjoy it. There's so much you can learn from games just by actually studying their levels. And then there's also a good idea of why they do them. So like I said, everything is lined up, and you'll notice the shadow right here specifically covers where he was. So they didn't use the light to highlight him, they used the darkness to highlight him and really separate him from the area. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and head into Unreal and take a look at designing some stuff like this. So if you don't own Half-Life 2 and you want to study a level like that, or you want to look at tons of older levels, like even Dark Souls, and you want to go to, let's say, New Londo Ruins or Valley of the Drakes, you can actually go to this site called noclip.website. And when we load in, you'll see the level right here. Everything's loaded up. It's not 100% got the same, all the effects right. And there's some slight things that aren't loaded in based off of it not being the actual game. But it gives an idea of looking at the level design. So with Half-Life 2, we were inside of We Don't Go to Ravenholm. If we click the first one, so you'll notice that this is the exact area we started in, right here. And this allows you to play around and look at everything. Here's an enemy you kill. Here's a hanging body, but you'll notice there's no glow light. So it lets you look at the level, but it's not 100% perfect. But it is an idea of looking at how it's all built, where everything's placed. And it gives you this sense of being able to look at these levels and kind of get a feel of how they work. Although it doesn't replace the fact of actually playing the real thing. But if you're just going in for a quick study, it works just fine. So now, for the actual systems that we were talking about, we can ignore this. This was something I was working on the side. So if we look through here, go to levels, scroll down, and we look for pacing full. So if we look at pacing full, this will take into account that story beat we were talking about. Because the thing with horror is if you're doing a horror game, you really need to pay attention of the pacing and where everything is placed. So in most games, it's still important to keep an eye where things are placed. But in horror games, a lot of that stuff where things are placed can be lore specific. So the way a character sets their plates up can really be a defining trait. So like if you go into a house during a playthrough and the character has always stacked the plates, everything is always nice and clean, and then you go in there one day in the game and it's not. Everything is disheveled, the character seems off. It paints this picture in the player's mind of, okay, something's off. The details I'm used to seeing aren't the same anymore. And you can gradually change them. So like, take the character, place them in a room that's done the same way 3 or 4 times. And then once they go in there the 4th time, change something. And then the 5th time, change something else. And then the 6th time, change something else. Until that character is almost a shadow of what they're used to resemble. And even if it's introducing a character at different areas, have them act a specific way for multiple areas, and then have that slight twist. And that slight twist. A slight twist. And eventually that'll build up to that character kind of breaking down. Have things feel off. Because the players come to know them a specific way. So now something's different. And that might be a bad thing. That's how you can slowly introduce a villain from a hero character. Is have that character start with those morals, and as the game progresses, the little twists unravel their rope. And eventually that rope comes undone, and they just kind of break, become the bad guy. This is done in a fair few successful games. But yeah, so I'm going to start this from the beginning. And I've shown this a few times, I know, but it's a good example of what the story did in Half-Life. So we load up, we come over here, we can't access this door, we come over here, we have the light that is telling us that the door is open, we come over here, and we pick up this key. The key now tells us, okay, I can go back and open this door. So right as soon as we open this door, it opens up and we see through, we see that red light and then the door's closed. That instantly informs us, okay, so that needs to be green and that will open. So you come around over here and then you see this right here, which is set up, and then the light is down there. This tells them that that will solve this in the end, if the player's paying attention. They might not, but they don't need that information necessarily. As they go back and get the item, they'll go through, oh, I have to hit it again. Sometimes it messes up. Doesn't usually do that. I'm not sure why it doesn't work every time. There we go. But yeah, as soon as they come over here, they'll see that this has a gap in it, and that needs to be knocked over. Like, okay, so how do I do that? I can't jump, up. So let's find something to do that. So we come over here, and as we're going through, we can see the weapon over there and that this is open. The window allowed us to see the door actually open up when we were over there. Ignore the floating gun and the bouncing gun. We come over here and come over and pew. Drops into place, and now we can go on through. And that has completed the level. Like I said, not the most fancy thing ever made, but it shows a lot of those design features that were used in the level. And for instance, if you think about how the car worked, the car was forced to be used, so I could have gone over here and made this forcefully make the player open it. But having it active already with this green light shows that it's on already. That allows the player to put two and two together. That red means deactivated, green means activated. As well as from here, you'd be able to see the green light. And once you hit this button, that door will open and you'll be able to straight see it. So it's many different things being used. When this door opens, it specifically paints the view in the direction of the button and what the door that needs to open, because the door opens to the left and blocks off the left view, which left is where you need to go to get the button pressed. But you don't need to see that right off the bat. You need to see that these are what need to be activated right off the bat. That's more important. So yeah, that's how you control the pacing and really kind of teaching the player the mechanics of a system you have in mind. So let's go ahead and look at making something kind of horror. So we're going to look at the subway level. So I've used this before in another video as well. So if we go into the showcase, we're going to talk about atmosphere now. So one thing that the level in Half-Life had was plenty of atmosphere. There was blood everywhere. The creatures were terrifying. They made sounds, and they used specific color set. So those are all really powerful tools used in horror. As well as the level was dark, but it wasn't unbelievably dark to where I couldn't see anything. As a matter of fact, the only areas that were dark were specifically more of like secret areas that I could access. And that rewarded me for enjoying the more darker side of things. So when I saw that vent, for exploring, they gave me free items and stuff. So they didn't punish the player for wanting to explore, they actually encouraged it. And then when they got to areas that are important for levels, for story, they really emphasized it, like when the character shot the zombie in front of you, or with that massive fire pyre right below the character that really made them center field as well. Which also was used for the puzzle later on that they taught through the fire that you saw. So when we go into this level, you'll see there's plenty of fog and everything. The area is overly lit. So you may think how we're going to turn this into a horror level. So first things first, we're going to get rid of their post-processing, because I want to walk you through doing this all together. We're going to raise the scale. There, so now you should be able to see everything that I'm typing. So with this, I want to get rid of any false lights. A false light is a light isn't in an area that you would not actually have. So delete anything that wouldn't actually be there. And then we'll, of course, add lights in later. But it's important to really get rid of these extra little lights, because that gives us far more control than we have right now. So that's a good set of them. Let's go ahead and get rid of all the point lights. Looks like the outlier was shrank too much. Let's type in point. Get rid of all these ones first. We'll get rid of all these ones next. I hit delete instead of shift. There we go. Now let's get rid of these ones, because there's no area in this level that has a point light required specifically just yet. So there we go. That gets rid of all those. Let's go with spotlight now. Let's get rid of the extra spotlights. So there we go. There goes all of our lights that aren't specifically connected to blueprints. Now let's go in and create a post-processing. We need to create an atmosphere for this. So let's go to Visual Effects, Post-Processing Volume. Once it's clicked on, type in Unbound, check this, and then scroll down to Exposure and set the min and max EV to 0. This will give us 100% full control over the level, and we can edit those later on. I don't like this much fog. I think it's kind of over a little too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this fog layer. Yeah, I don't want that. I want smoke. Okay, so it's smoke. Let's get rid of the smoke. There we go. So now we have the set level. Let's get rid of the fog. There we go. So now everything is just our lights and our post-processing. So let's go ahead and take this scene from just being a lit subway and kind of add some atmosphere to it. So let's go ahead and delete these two that are close to the wall. And that kind of adds a little shadow right there. That already makes the place feel less inviting. So let's go ahead and get rid of this one. And then every other light. And then there are these ones that are still on when they shouldn't be. So they have the light off, but the light itself is still on. Good. There we go. Now we have those all set up. We have a bit more of light going on here. So what I want to do now is, from what you noticed on the other one, is that cool colors were really used in the Half-Life level. So that's because cool colors kind of unnerve people, and then red kind of makes character feel a bit more dangerous. But if you use the wrong kind of shade of red, it makes the character feel a bit more adventurous and active and powerful. It really depends on how you're going to use those colors and what tone it has. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to our color grading right here and have this temperature tab. I'm going to click it and I'm going to drag this down a little bit, and that's going to make that level feel a bit cooler. You'll notice that everything's less warm. It just suddenly got cooler. It's because we legit changed the temperature of all of the lighting to be more of a cool color. And that can really have a shift on its own. So if I turn that off, you'll see the shift right here without. Let's go ahead and hide everything. Go back down to that and turn this off. See that tone shift from just a slight bit of cool temperature added? That's how much power that you can have in your atmosphere just from controlling this. So there's another thing is using the vignette. If I raise the vignette, then the edges of the screen get darker. If I use that when the character is being chased, it kind of gives them a form of tunnel vision. And if it slowly creeps in as something gets closer, it really makes the player more unnerved. It's something fun to see when you're testing and getting people's reactions to situations. So it's smart to know how to use this properly. If you use your materials, I believe you could turn this red as well and use this for a type of damage if you wanted to. But we're going to scroll up and take a look at more systems like the glow right here. Currently, it's a bit too much of a glow for what I want to go for right now, so we're going to lower this. Actually, let's keep it up. We're going to go to the threshold and raise this so the floor stops glowing. If we turn this back to what it was, you'll see there's a slight glow to the floor, and we turn it back up. It kind of dims down. And then there's more things to pay attention to when you're working on something for the environment to really make it atmospheric. And that is playing into the shadows. So there's things you can do like going to your shadows and actually changing the colors that they emit by using the contrast. So I can actually just tone this a little bit. And now there's a bit of blue in all of the shadow. If I go too far in the red, it goes a bit blue in the shadows. Other way, it goes orangish red. So if I just turn this a little bit, I can get colored shadows, and I can use that to my advantage when I use other systems like the film slow and toe, which if I turn this up, it raises the contrast. Now I've got this really high contrast, and then if I take the contrast in the shadows, I can raise it up. Now I've got this blue shift hue for the entire level. Even in the shadows, especially in the shadows. I turn this off. See, it goes away. It lights it up a little bit more as well, and it adds this color tone to it. You can also use this if you're wanting to do things like you can use systems like this in order to create a sort of night vision. So if I take that, set it to green, go to the saturation, just turn it off. Oh, that's the shadows. I don't want the shadow saturation off. I want the global saturation off. So everything's black and white, and yet I've got this green shift to it. So there's many cool little feelings you can get going on with this. If I want the gain to also be different, I could lower the gain, or I can raise the gain, really increase the strength of that green or weaken it. And if I want to create things like this, I could really have fun with it. So you'll notice that this is really black and white, but the whites are sharp. So yeah, that's how you get the little black and white scene that people find entertaining in a lot of horror stuff or classic style and noir style. So other parts you can add to it to really emphasize would be to use the shadow contrast, kind of lower it to get your kind of light back instead of it just being dark and shadowy all the time. And then another thing is to go to your local exposure, go down to detail strength, and if you turn that up, everything gets sharper. We can lower the power of our bloom to compensate up there. And you'll see that the level is really sharp. Everything is just almost too much right now. So let's go ahead and lower it a bit more. So 0.6, no, that's the shadow contrast. Let's lower this to like 1.1. But just from this, you can see the difference right here. So this is 1. This is a little bit higher. And everything feels just crisp, almost to a point of unrealistically crisp. And that stuff can be used to make things unsettling. It's used a lot in games like The Evil Within, which was known for being successful, which was a rather successful horror series. And if we look close, the wall looks rather similar to what that system had. So they had their good post-processings. Let's go ahead and get our color back in there. There we go. Everything just feels sharp. And if we take a look at the evil within some of the level, let's find a good picture real quick. So if we look at the evil within, everything has this ominous glow to it. Everything is overly sharp. This is glowing. There's extreme, like, crisp to the models and the feel. Of course, it's an older game at this point, so the detail isn't as high as it could be. But you get what I'm saying. Everything has that detail increase. Like, this is a little exaggerated over here, but that's because we can lower it a little bit more and get closer to what they had. Right here. Lower it a little bit. We're closer to it. Actually, we might be farther from it now. But yeah, we need to tone down some of the saturation. I might have raised it a little bit without meaning to. Ah, that's what it is. I forgot to get rid of these. The contrast is too high. There we go. So now we're back to what it normally is with a little bit of detail. Now we're going to raise it slowly, and you'll see it becomes more like the Evil Within has. See? It's got the Evil Within feel over here. We just need to lower the bloom. You see, we're getting pretty close to it already. Of course, everything's still too bright, so let's go ahead and grab all these and lower the brightness on them. Oh, whoops. Intensity needs to go down. There we go. So now everything's real dark. I can turn this back up to about 300, 500, 1000. There we go. So everything is now a darker feel. It's got a fair bit of extra detail placed on it. This light right here needs its emissive turned down as well. Set it to about 10. 5. Try 5. There we go. So everything is still lit up and completely usable, but the feel of the level is completely different now. Now, I don't tend to use a heightened detail strength unless that's the type of horror that you're going for. So that's how you control that kind of atmosphere. And like I said, if this is too dark, you can scroll down to your local exposure, lower the contrast even more. It loses a bit of color, but since we have the strength intense higher, we can use that to our advantage. I think we still have a bit too much intensity on the emissives. So we don't want the emissive to control everything. Let's lower it to 5. Set this to 700. Let's go back to 500 actually. Matter of fact, I think we can get rid of some of these extra lights too. So this one, the train doesn't need to be active. Let's go ahead and see if we can turn the emissive. I like 10. Let's set it to 20. So there's that. And now we're going to get rid of some of that detail strength because I believe it's messing with everything. So let's lower it a little bit and really get that control back. There we go. So now you're seeing that the level that we had before, all we've really done is change the post-processing and lighting. And it's gone from this just dirty train station to be a bit creepier. So let's go ahead and go to these and lower their emissive a little bit more as well. So we're going to go into it, find the emissive, and we're going to lower it to 0.3. There we go. And we don't need all these lights over here. That's quite a few. I actually delete this one and this one. We don't really need this one either. Let's put no lights in front of the train, only the ones outside of it. So that way the light can come from inside of the train and right in front of it. So now that we're looking at everything, it's starting to get a little too dark in the area. So we need to look at what all has been done in order to cause that. So the detail strength, of course, increases the darkness and how sharp your items are. So we need to work on that, turn off the vignette, and then we're going to go down to film. We're going to lower this a little bit because that's controlling the contrast a bit. Unless you're going for extremely realistic, going too low could be too much. You can tone down the stuff and help really ground it in reality, as you can see. But going too far and it becomes almost washed out. So it's a good idea to keep in mind how low you want it to go. So now we've got it looking rather close to more of a photo, and we don't necessarily want that. So I kind of want to take these and change the color they're emitting out to. So let's add a slight bit of blue to it. So that's going to make back there kind of change the color. We're going to make all of these emit that color. And then up here, we're going to make it a bit warmer to kind of twist the feeling of what's going on here. So these a bit warmer, just enough to throw things off. So while you're up here, everything feels normal-ish. But as you get down here, the colors start to get cooler. This one actually wasn't turned cool. Oh no, this one wasn't changed at all. That's what it was. In fact, it's actually got a little bit of warmth to it. We want that gone. There we go. So there's that. And then let's actually get rid of one of these lights. Or just make them duller. So let's go to 200. There it is. The emissive strength was too high. There we go. Now everything's starting to really settle in on that darkness. So let's make the emissives 2 instead of 1. Let's go to 1. No, 2 works right here. This one can be set to 1. And we're starting to set up this unsettling area. And then of course we can do things like these cockroaches. If we simulate, you'll see that they actually move. So everything's moving. Now you've got these flickering lights. Of course you want the intensity to match that. You got the hanging light over there. The flickering lights are a little rapid and almost predictable. You can see that over here kind of flickers with it. But it's too fast for the engine to really render that it's flickering very well. So of course you would want to tone that down. You see that we could create an atmosphere. Now let's add a bit more to it. Let's go to visual effects, add in the fog, exponential height cloud, height fog, and we can change the fog interscattering color to actually get a bit of color back in. Most fog is actually white unless there's color added to it. And we can slowly lower the opacity and then lower the density, because one is just too high. We're going to raise the fall off. And if we want it to start away from the character, we can raise the start distance so that way it starts farther away. We can bring it back to where a good medium is. About right here is all right. We can actually change the color a little bit, add that blue hue into it. Or we can actually go a little different, and if we set it up right, we can actually make the fog black. But we're not going to go over doing that today. But if you look at Silent Hill, it actually has black fog. We'll take a look at that real quick. So if you look at this, you see the white fog everywhere, but there's also really dense grayish black fog in here. And that's something uniquely that they did that a lot of games don't do, is that they go more of a mist. This really emphasized it and mixed it with the fog that they have going on. And that gave the fog almost a lifelike feeling. So there's things like that that you can really play with. Over here, you see that it's really bright, so we've gone a little overboard with some of our systems, but it can also be rectified by just lowering the emissive intensity on these right here, because it's pretty high. Yeah, 100, that's really, really, really high. Let's set it to 5. We'll watch this area go back to the dark that it's supposed to be. So there we go. Now we've got this area back to being real dark. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot you could do to control your environment. So I think we've looked at this level enough. Let's go into an actual area and let's go ahead and build a few things. All right. So with this area, we're just going to design a quick hallway because it may sound simple, but a hallway can really change the feel of an entire game if done right. So let's go with 5 and we'll make it a slightly short hallway. Set this to 2 so we get a more accurate wall, 3 to get a more accurate wall thickness. Go for 3 blocks high because that's perfect for the character. We'll go 3 blocks high again over here. There we go. And now we can put a roof. So with this, we've created a whole little room. Yes. Yeah, I should already have the settings. So if you've never used that before, that is the modeling cube grid. Click, drag across, and hit E to go up, Q to delete or go down. Press Z, click the corners, and you can go up and create a ramp and go down across it. And then if you've clicked off of something and then you try and do it, it won't edit the thing in there. It'll just add new stuff. So you have to click the model that you're working on, and then you can drag across, and now it will edit it. Simple as that. So yeah, let's go ahead and add a light in here real quick. So we'll add a spotlight, and we'll add 3 of those. Right, let's put one right here because we're going to expand the hallway a bit. Right there, and right there. So the reason we're going to expand the hallway a little bit is we're going to look at a few different edits we could do to this to really kind of change the entire feel of the level. So, of course, we're going to put a door somewhere. So there we go, there's that. And now we're going to add a path over here that's almost just as long. So we want it to be 5 across as well. So it matches what's going on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to go over and drag across. Go over and drag across. We don't really need it to fit anything because we're not going to do any more with it. That's why we're also going to not worry about the wall thickness over here because we're not going to really need to worry about that. But I wanted to show you how thick you should make the wall if you're going to go about making a real level. That's why I did it the first time. So now let's go ahead and seal off the entire area in this T shape. And we're going to do a lot with this T. So with this hole right here, we're just going to put a door. So let's look for a door. Doesn't matter what door. And we'll just put a door here for now. There we go. All right, so now we need these lights to fit across the area. So we're going to add the post-processing early on because that's important. Visual effects, post-processing volume, and we're going to look at the unbound first. Check that. And then, of course, we're going to set the intensity of the min and max to 0, 0. So we have the full strength of everything. So now we have it to where we can really get it to where we want it to be. And of course, like I said, we would edit those later on in an actual project, really tone it to what we want it to be. And the thing about designing video games is not every project has the same exact settings that you want to use on everything. There is no one size fits all in game development. Every project needs to be looked at as its own little thing. Of course, there's a lot of stuff about making games that transfers over, but the idea and actual execution will almost always unanimously change. So what I'm doing right here is I'm showing you these lights. So if I click movable, turns them into dynamic, so they're always updating. So right here, I want this light to slide over, and I'm going to add another one right here. What this does is it really creates a different feel of that hallway, as you can see, compared to before where the light was just in the center. This kind of separates the light. And if I go over here, I can really tell the player to go over this way, or I could set the other one to be closer here and kind of even it out. Doesn't tell any or exact, but it gives this darkness right here. So what we're going to do is everywhere is a bit too dark. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of fix that a little bit. So of course we could boost the brightness of everything and really just go hard on that. But we're going to scroll down to the local exposure and use the same trick I've shown many different times. And we've gone past it for sure. Right here, we're going to go down to the shadow contrast. We're going to lower that a little bit until we get that ceiling back just a little bit. So there we go. Now we've got the ceiling back, and I want to play around with the temperature again. So the temperature is a little bit pale and colorless. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to color grading, go to that temperature and lower it a little bit. Get some of that blue color back, make everything feel slightly pale. There we go. So we're already starting to get a bit of a scene going in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take our lights, and instead of adding a tint of blue to them like I did last time, I'm going to make it feel a little disgusting in here. I'm going to make it have a slight green tint to it. So the level doesn't feel right anymore. So it's because not all colors go together perfectly. So if I add a little bit of green, it's not as bad. But if I really want to emphasize an area, let's take this for example. This was one that's done in Silent Hill as well, and I actually did it in one of the more recent videos. And that is take the little light. We're going to take one light. We're going to drag it over. We're going to actually blow it out real quick. But this is for a specific reason. So now we got this light right here. And we want to separate it a little bit. So let's take it from being the blue that we are used to and make it a strong kind of pale green. And then we're going to raise the intensity. Lower the attenuation radius, shrink it in. Now you'll see that, well, this door seems to be messing up. Let's go ahead and... what is wrong with that door? So we'll just keep it without the door for now. You'll see this intense shift. So we're going to lower the brightness to a bit of a darker green, and that slight change makes that area feel unnerving. And we can do the same thing with red. If it's too red, it also feels a little unnerving. This would feel like something's kind of hunting you, or the area has something burning hot right there, or something that just doesn't feel right. If we change it to more of a warmth, you'll notice that it still has some of that feel, but it feels more like something is hot over there. Go a little bit more yellow, and now it just feels like there's something hot over there. So just playing with that slight shift in tone right here we can change that. And then if we go to greenish yellow, that just feels like there's kind of a screen or some sort of light over there. So really just playing around with those corner lights can add some kind of intensity. Like if I wanted to make this area feel even more intense, that's why I wanted to make these corners right here. I can delete these two lights. I don't know why I deleted both of them. I need to delete one, and we're going to shrink the width of it, and we're going to turn it, and we're going to use it to kind of create a bit of a story here. So that's weird. Right here, we're going to lower it to the floor. We're going to raise it up to where it's angled towards the wall. So what we've done is we created a flashlight that is on the floor. And what we could really do to sell that a bit more is, let's see if we got the light function pack. There we go. 50 light functions. We're going to go to round. And we're going to set it to this. Oh, we don't have it clicked anymore. Scroll down to the material and boom. Let it load through. Now we've created a simple flashlight on the floor, and it's a little too wide still, so we're going to shrink it down a bit. And there we go. And then, of course, we could create a little volumetrics coming off of it if we wanted to. But just using this, you could see that it's showing that, okay, something bad has happened over there. A fallen flashlight usually means somebody's dead in a game. There we go. And to really sell that, you want it to kind of go across the ground a little bit. So going a little too much on the rotation. Here we go. 5. There we go. So that is really help selling it. And to take it even a step further, we could go in and make it kind of dirty. It's not the right one. Let's go with this one. There we go. There we go. So now it looks like the flashlight has gotten dirty and it rolled across the floor and maybe a few things have happened on it. Then we've got further where we can actually have it cracked. And just those little subtle details can show, okay, so this wasn't just set on the floor. This one is dirty, but it's also, if we get close and we get that detail fixed out, it's cracked. This one going. So this pack's pretty old at this point, made many years ago. So this one's the best one for showing off that situation that we were talking about. And the lights are very cracked. Just using these can really sell that something has happened to the flashlight. And it's telling a story using the environment and the lighting that isn't just, okay, so this is a terrifying place, but now it's, okay, so it's not just scary. People have had things happen to them now. This is not good. And that streak light across there can really sell areas too and point out locations. So like if you have a character who has a light on their chest and the character doesn't need to collect it from them or anything, you can have them hanging up on the wall and pointing out that location. And that can really be like, oh, that's a moment we need. I mean, that's a spot we need to go to. So here, let's go ahead and go back to the classic lights over here. So from here with the classic lights set up, nice, bright, clean, we're going to go to another level, and that's probably where we're going to end this video off. So let's load up levels. So taking in what we said with door, where the green light shines through, we're going to look at a scene where I actually use that to make it really sell a bit more. And this was actually shown and this was actually shown off in a video prior. So from here, let's disable all screen messages. There we go. Let's hide all that. And you'll see right here, we're in a sort of rundown building. The sun doesn't change, so you'll see that it's still lit up, but it's mixing the colors of some sort of tan and red and this green with a hint of blue in the shadows. And that's putting together this really atmospheric level that has plenty of environmental art being used to tell a story going on. So what I need to do in here is there's a few things that need to be done, like this one. This frame should be tilted. This one might even be better to be knocked over if we really wanted to tell a story of what's going on. So the area looks like some kind of struggle happened. Even take the sofa and turn it a bit. Maybe even knock the nightstand over. Not the nightstand, but you know what I'm saying. Knock this over. Slide it back so it actually doesn't block the chair area. And of course, rotate the plate to match what has happened here. So here we go. Let's flip the plate around. So everything, oh, one more tick. Everything looks like something has happened. And it's all telling the scene together. I even take it a step further and knock this chair over and turn it sideways to be able to tell that something big has gone on in here. Turn this snapping off and slide this over into the corner to use up some of that negative space that we've got, which negative space, if you don't know, it's when an area is empty. So if you have an area in your level that's empty of your camera, that's called negative space. And it's just as important as the positive space that's being used. So as we can see right here, that green that I used earlier is phenomenal right here. So I actually have a short that I made that I believe I made a short for it that we're going to watch real quick, and it goes over a use of this in an actual game, which is Silent Hill 2, which we already talked about as well. All right, so we're back at the video, and I'm going to let my younger self explain this.
So another thing, this light isn't just pure white. There's a slight, I'd almost say blue or green hue to it that kind of changes how you feel about how it's going across the wall. So that also kind of adds to the emotion and the psychology you're putting into the player. The flickering, the slight hue shift, because if we look over here, we got this pure white grayish light over here. And then over here, it's got that slight hue. You can really tell the difference if I put them like right here. Down there, it's saturated and it's got this odd coloring to it. Over there, it's dim and it's slight. Just a few fun things to look at when you're playing your games.
So that's one thing I wanted to go over. And yeah, in the video, I describe it pretty well. There's another part where that same moment there's a body inside of the fridge and you go over and you're supposed to examine it. But when you're heading over and that light is catching your attention, they suddenly play an audio cue. And so you're like, oh, that sounds way more important than this light right now. I'm going to go check that out. So you go over and you check that out, and it starts a cutscene where you talk to somebody and they bring up the dead body that's in the fridge. The issue with that is if you play like I did, I went over and I saw the cutscene and I never saw the body. I was like, what the hell are they talking about? Then I went back out there and I went to go check out that light that I saw, and it was the body. So they had played the audio cue before they should have. They should have played it after I had noticed the body. So that way it guided me more properly, the level flowed better, and the cutscene would have made a bit more sense. So yeah, it's important to keep track of those, because if you have it just play out of sequence just a little bit, you might confuse the entire scene. So yeah, if you notice, this area is also dilapidated, it's broken down, there's clutter and trash everywhere, and that makes this area feel run down and it feels dark, used, either abandoned, or some bad people live here. But yeah, I just wanted to go over all of this because it's rather important information, and I really wanted to talk about horror games. And I plan on continuing this as a series, really giving a deep dive into what makes a horror game a horror game. Next is going to be different types of mechanics and how they affect the actual fear factor of your game, like jump scares and really that just subtle influence that different little things can give to your area and the feel. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you all learned a lot. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting the like button. If you want to see more like this, please consider subscribing. This video took a decent bit of extra work to get set up. I had to re-get the game installed for Half-Life, get caught up to where it was, figure out what level I wanted to cover inside of a video game, and so much more, as well as actually take the time to figure out what to put in this video and figure out a good point to cut off, because I don't want this to be a 3 or 4 hour video. I want it to be a series so you all can come back and watch it and take breaks in between. So yeah, with that, I hope you all have a good night and good luck with your game development.